a good Thursday evening, everybody. Chris McDonald back with you on this 13th day of August, 2026. Good to see everybody. And good, it's a Thursday night, and I hadn't had this guy on this week, and it is his night to shine. I would say rise and shine, but he's at that age that rising is a little bit more challenging than the shining is. Jeemes Akers, former CIA analysis. I'm surprised Akers don't tell me what Johnson says when I make corny jokes like that. I know where you live, McDonald, so watch those jokes, you know. But anyway, hey, it's good to see you tonight, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing fine. It's good being with you, Chris, and all your listeners.
Always, buddy. It's a pleasure to have you here. Listen, we got so much to talk about tonight, and folks, we've got some video to play at the end tonight after we talk with Jeemes for a little bit, and we'll take your questions at the end. You're welcome to chat, but please don't put paragraphs or links. Just keep it affirmations right now, and keep the comments on topic, please. And that's just a suggestion. Jeemes, big couple of big stories that I want to get on with you tonight. I'm going to save this abortion issue for last, but I do want to talk to you about this brouhaha that the media is trying to make about what happened in Turkey, evidently, when Trump was over there meeting Erdogan. And it seems that there was what the White House is calling a credible threat from Iran, and the Secret Service suggested that they sneak him off Air Force One, put him on another plane, and get him home. And somebody leaked that to the media. CBS, there's another leak tonight, evidently, that CBS has gotten a hold of. And then you've got this just complete loser, Anthony, I can't even remember, he's a black comedian, was on Jimmy Kimmel last night basically bragging, hoping that the Iranians would have killed Trump. And I mean, this is the insanity of the left. But I'm very upset that people are leaking this stuff to the media, because that's a national security issue. Our old friend Buzz Patterson, he was the one that held the nuclear code for Bill Clinton. And he's never been slow to tell us what happened on the day that Clinton lost the nuclear codes, what he was doing with Monica Lewinsky. But Buzz went on Fox News today, and he basically said that people just need to pipe down about this, because as a former lieutenant colonel and somebody that was in that role under Clinton, he said, look, it's not the first time in history this has happened. And he said it's the Secret Service's call, and if they tell the president to get on that other plane, there's a good reason for it. And what's your thoughts on all that as a intelligence person?
Yeah, well, I was also interested somewhere in the press, I don't know how legitimate it is, they had a CIA supposedly said that there wasn't that great a threat. But in those situations, it's the people around Trump responsible for his security that make the call. This call was based on Israeli intelligence, and the Israelis, at least that's what a couple sources in the Middle East are saying, and the Israelis had very good intelligence that somehow that the Iranians had infiltrated, and so there was a credible plot on the president's life, and so the way they got him out of there, I thought was rather clever. But you know, these days, anytime anybody can come up with something and throw it against the wall as a negative about Donald Trump, they're going to do it. Can you imagine a Secret Service plan to get the president out of harm's way, and you have all of these idiots coming out of the woodwork making light of that, and you know, they're right in league with the Iranians, who ran a picture of him and supposedly the service truck and this, that, and the other. And so the way they're twisting the story that Trump didn't have enough courage to get shot at, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, and
it's crazy.
It is crazy. And James, look, I understand the craziness of the Iranians. We expect this. We'll talk about them in a minute. What I'm ticked off about tonight, though, are these leaks coming out of the White House. Somebody is giving this information because nobody would have known about this had it not been leaked to the press. And because this is the way I look at the press, and I know this may be a naive view of it, it would not be good for the press if I was president. There is nowhere in the Constitution that President Trump has to hold any press conferences. That's a tradition. That's not constitutional. I don't know who in the you-know-what they think they are, that he's got to answer to them about the threats on his life, and the Secret Service has to call up CBS or NBC or ABC or Fox News even and say, hey, guys, do we have your permission to protect our president? They can go pound sand. And if it was a credible threat, I don't care what they did. I don't care if they would have sent him back on the bat plane. I'd have been okay with it. And this is, think about this. If something would have happened, let's just say somebody took a shot at him. You know what this same press would be doing tonight? They would be criticizing the Secret Service for not protecting him.
Yes.
They would be, would they not?
Absolutely. And, and I've worked with some of these guys. Let me tell you, that group that's around the president, I have always been very impressed with. They're professional, they're intelligent, they're motivated, and I mean, we went through a spell where they had to check certain boxes, to be, but I think we've corrected that. These guys are good at what they do, and what they do is to protect the president. That's their job. Their job's not to prearrange things with the press.
Thank you.
That would please the press. Their job is to protect the president, and they spin into action if there's a credible threat. And from all accounts, this was a credible threat. I'm with you. This garbage has got to stop. We have a government that doesn't know the meaning anymore of top secret or information that's detrimental to the national security. They just leak like a sieve. It is crazy. And we have to get a handle on this stuff. Well, there's my soapbox.
No,
Chris.
no, that's not even. No, but that's not a soapbox. That's just common sense 101, which is at a premium in Washington D.C. tonight. And I'm going to say something to these losing pieces of journalists that are out there. You had some moron on CNN. Excuse me. I actually apologize to the real morons out there, but you had somebody on CNN tonight insinuate that what they did was an illegal order to get Trump off Air Force One. And again, where in the Constitution, where in the law does it say that the president has to fly on any airplane except the one he chooses? That's just a tradition, James. If Air Force One's under a threat, you get it out of the sky. You don't let him fly on it. That's just common sense. A sixth grader can understand this stuff. And I got to ask you a question. And I'm a little fired up about it because, again, this is like, if this is, let me go back to something you said about Israel. If this Israeli info was correct, and I believe it was, do you realize that's number 6? That's the 6th legitimate attempt on his life that we've had in less than 2 years. But have we lost our natural born minds here in this country? Which I don't need to answer that. I already know the answer to that. But again, why is it that if it's Trump, it's a national issue and people are leaking? I guarantee you, put this perspective with Obama. What would have happened if they'd have done that? You know what they'd have been doing tonight? they'd have been hailing Obama as the bravest president in the world to sneak out of Turkey, and the Secret Service was American patriots, and man, we saved our president. And my question to you is simple. When Trump leaves office, what is this press going to have to, what about? What is this press going to have to cover? What are they going to do? I don't know what they're going to have to do, James, because the Trump derangement syndrome, they'll have no Trump to be derangedly syndromed about.
No, I agree, but I agree with you. I can't top that. And then the press is just so obvious. It's obvious what their agenda is, and they earn all the low confidence marks that they're getting now. The press as an institution has never been so vilified as they are right now, and it's because it's obvious that that there's a double standard in the way they treat politicians in this country. So
I'll agree.
There you go.
Look, again, this is why President Trump, it's good that President Trump's in power tonight and not President McDonald, because these people would be doing their news stories from the White House kitchen sink. I'd be telling them you can go in there and they could scream freedom of the press all they want to. Let me tell you what freedom of the press is not, James. Freedom of the press is not putting national security of this country in jeopardy. You can report whatever you want to, but when you start jeopardizing national security, your freedom of the press is tossed. I'm sorry. That is constitutional. The president has a job to protect us from all enemies, foreign and domestic. And if he's got a legitimate threat, he don't need people giving Iran. There was a Washington Post reporter here. I read the story on Gateway Pundit. We posted it in our Telegram room. A Washington Post reporter was calling the Iranian government after all this happened and telling them that he had the next flight plan for Air Force One if they wanted to take Trump out. That Washington Post reporter needs to be in jail. But the way that you handle the press, in my opinion, if they're going to act like 4-year-olds, you treat them like 4-year-olds. You put them in their playpen, and you say you write what you want to write, but you're not going to do it here at the White House. You can go outside the lawn. You can go outside of the toilet. I don't care where you're going to do it. I don't know if you remember the movie Walking Tall back in the 70s, but Joe Don Baker played Buford Puster over in West Tennessee, and the mayor was making a bunch of dumb decisions and doing dumb stuff like this bunch is doing. And he comes in one morning and his office is locked down, and he goes into the sheriff's department and he says, where's the keys to my office? My office is locked. And Joe Don Baker's, they said, he's down the road in the men's room. You might want to go find him. He walks in the men's room, and Joe Don Baker is sitting on a toilet. He's sitting on a trash can by the toilet. And he tells the mayor, he said, I just read the city bylaws, and the sheriff gets to determine where the mayor's office is. And since you've been making, and I can't use the word he used, since you've been making certain decisions, he said, I've decided this is the best place for you to run your city, is right here in the men's room and the toilet. And James, I hate to be so blunt about it tonight, that's exactly where this bunch of losing people that are hurting and putting our nation in danger need to be told to go do their reporting. And guess what? They can't cry. We're quenching freedom of the press. No, you're free to write whatever you want to write, but you ain't going to do it in my backyard. Am I right on that? I know that's a soapbox, and that's a grade A Oscar winning. I should get best soapbox of 2026 on that one, Akers. I'm just saying, man.
That's a good one. But the key is, Chris, that there's never been so few people reading the press and having any confidence in the press. Everybody's going to other sources for their information because this press has just so sullied the water for themselves. You know, a respected institution has just become garbage, and everybody knows it.
Yeah, I know, man. And again, it's something's got to stop. I mean, and I don't know, look, Trump's correcting a lot of things in the second term, and I just hope he does something with the press before he leaves. He's got 2 years, and um, anyway, well, listen, I just want to run that by you. Do you think? I think they did the right thing, James. I'll go out on this. I don't think there was anything wrong with what they did, and if there was a threat, a credible threat, and Israel was telling them, look, Iran's trying to do something with that plane, they had to do something. And I think they did the right thing. I don't see anything that was done that was wrong that the media should be losing its lunch over. Do you?
No, no, they did exactly what they were supposed to do, ensure the safety of the president and against a credible threat, period. They should be congratulated for a job well done instead of having to put up with all this garbage.
No, totally agree, man. Totally agree. I used to be a reporter, so I can say that from coming one from the press, and used to do that myself before God called me to do what He's calling me to do now. But there was a time that I wrote stories, and I worked at a newspaper, which has gone completely insane and lost its mind, liberal leaning. But I get it. But when national security is threatened, I'm sorry, that's where freedom of the press ends, in my opinion. Now, other thing I want to talk to you about. It was a very troubling thing that happened over the weekend. In fact, it happened a week ago tomorrow. Turkey, Pakistan, the Saudis, of all people. I think Yemen. And they're saying that Egypt may join into this alliance. But there is something that's been developed called the Mecca Alliance. And I was not surprised at Turkey and Pakistan doing this. I wasn't even really surprised at Yemen or Qatar. I was a little surprised about the Saudis, but I don't trust the Saudis. I am somewhat surprised that Egypt would want to join this. And when Iran is applauding this, because they've been out there all week saying we need an American free Middle East, because basically what this Mecca Alliance is an Arab country NATO. It's basically a group of Arab countries that are saying if somebody attacks you, we're going to attack them. We're going to come to your aid, and that's exactly what we have in the North American Treaty Organization. That's what we do in NATO. What's your thoughts on all that? That's a troubling development, and I'll tell you how troubling it is for Israel. It got Israel's attention. Cleo's in the house tonight. She's from down under. She's Greek, and she's Aussie, but she's Greek. Israel is turning to Greece and Cyprus, and they're forming a tighter union to counteract the Mecca Alliance. Do you see anything good coming from the Mecca Alliance? I do not. And that's just my opinion. What's Mr. James Akers' opinion?
Well, let me answer it as a person that taught history for a living for a long time. This is in a string of Middle East alliances, basically Sunni alliances that go back to the days of Nasser in Egypt and Arab nationalism. None of them have survived. They've all been very short-lived. And basically, they just do this time and time again. The Saudis gather in their robes, and Erdogan in his suit, and a couple of the others. They have a couple camera opportunities, and it doesn't amount to much. The wording of the Mecca Defense, this new treaty organization. And right now, it's only Turkey, Pakistan, and Saudi Arabia. Others are invited to join, but the real crux of that is an Article 5 like provision that's in the agreement. And Article 5, NATO's Article 5, says just what you said, that an attack on any of the members is regarded as an attack on them all, and in theory, they're supposed to respond. The truth of the matter is that nobody ever responds. right now the Houthis and some other Iranian proxies have hit Saudi Arabia since the treaty was signed.
Yeah.
You don't see any triggering mechanism where they've come to Saudi's assistance or hit any of these Iranian terrorist groups. So it's more of a PR gesture than anything else. The Iranian response is clearly an arrangement that's designed to limit Iranian activities in the Middle East, with a lot of the countries in the Middle East no longer all that sure of America's ability to protect them in the region, and so they're making these other arrangements. But the Iranians are faced with a situation where it's obviously aimed against them, and they're trying to turn a bad situation into a positive propaganda by saying, well, it gets America out of the region, and so it's really a positive from our perspective. That's garbage. That's just typical. Putting lipstick on a bad-looking pig, and they just that's what they do.
Yes,
and so there's no credibility to that whatsoever. There is an interesting wrinkle in all of it. All of these negotiations that took place in Mecca, the Muslim holy city. Egypt played a key role in helping draft the wording and this, that, and the other, but they declined to be an official member of the organization. They want to preserve their autonomy, and they also don't want to offend Israel. And so you have Egypt sort of dancing around the fringes of this treaty, but refusing to become a part of it. They probably learned their lesson from throwing their lot in with Syria many, many years ago, and that didn't last too long either. And so Egypt's role was very interesting. What do the parties gain from it? Pakistan gains from it because they're the only party to the agreement that brings a nuclear capability to the table.
That's interesting.
Turkey brings the largest army in NATO.
Yes.
To the table. So what do the Saudis bring to the table? Money
and oil.
And according to that article you sent me today, also AI capabilities.
That's the big thing. I saw that, and I thought about you immediately when I saw it, because you've been talking about AI and your missives and things like that, and how it's going to affect the world's economies and the world's future governments even. Let me ask you a couple of questions. What do you think? So what I'm hearing you say, and I guess I read somewhere where Egypt had accepted the role in that, but you've clarified that tonight. Do you think Syria and Iran will there be any? Because Turkey, Jeemes, is they're not dumb enough to tick America off, at least not right now. They hate Israel as bad as Iran does. I don't trust Syria to Israel's north. This guy's basically the poster kid for Islamic jihadism, the one that's over it. But do you see an alliance where Syria and Iran enter into this pact? Because it's the Middle East, as me and you have talked about very often, is a very complicated place. You mentioned the Sunni. Iran is Shia. And Syria, I would consider, would be more of a Shia nation than Sunni. And Iraq's a solid partner. They wasn't even mentioned in this article as being even consulted, and that's really weird, because Iraq, and Iran have been at each other's throat, and you would think that, for what I gather from the article, a lot of it was to protect these Arab nations from Iranian aggression, but it just it complicates this whole Middle East situation. The enemy, my enemy, is my friend, and the common enemy of all those nations I just mentioned is Israel, and there's no way we can escape that. Whether they're Sunni or Shia, the common enemy in that makeup of nations has always been, always will be Israel, and in some cases the United States too, because they hate us about as bad as they hate Israel, but not. The virtual hatred to Israel is palpable, and it's scalding hot. Correct?
Well, they hate us because they hate Israel.
Correct.
They just view the United States as an enabler of Zionism. That's their standard line. But the role of Turkey is really interesting, and Erdogan, having ousted his opposition, and there was an abortive coup attempt. And so he has been ridding a number of the military units, and there's new loyalty tests for Turkish military. He has an ongoing war against several factions in the region. He's getting as close as he can to Syria, but everybody's that's what makes the dance in the Middle East interesting. Everybody, as soon as he put on a suit and dropped his terrorist garb, the guy that's running Syria right now, everybody's putting on a charm offensive for this guy.
Yeah,
and so it's all interesting to watch, and where Syria will go in the future is extremely interesting to watch. For years and years and years and years, during the Assad various dictatorships in Syria, they were Alawites, which have certain leanings closer to the Shiites than they do the Sunnis, but it was still sort of an interesting sect. When the present Syrian regime came into power, one of the first things they started to do was to eliminate these Alawites, and so there's a real it's just interesting what's going on in Syria. And then you have that, and we're both sort of Old Testament readers and read a lot into Old Testament. You have that really interesting prophecy that Damascus is going to become a heap of rubble.
Yes.
And it looked for a while like the Israelis were going to do that, because when Syria got too close to Iran, every time Israeli intelligence had a group of generals or equipment that was going to go through Syria to get to Hezbollah in southern Lebanon, I mean, Israel just started whacking them, and so. There is that prophecy that's just hanging over Syria's future. And so what role Syria plays in the region, especially in the post-Assad era, and they just renegotiated a number of arrangements with Russia, that had a couple things, naval and air installations and this, that, and the other. I'm telling you, watching the analyst back at the agency that is watching Syria right now, that group has some of the most interesting jobs in the world, because it is a real reading of tea leaves where Syria is going to go in the future.
Well, I've got there's some biblical things we ain't got time to get into tonight. From a spiritual standpoint, I think the Bible is fairly clear as to what her future is and the role that she's going to play, and it's huge. The role of Turkey is going to be huge. Greece, and Egypt are four countries that we really need to watch. And again, we don't have time to do a Bible prophecy lesson on a Thursday night. I wished I could, but join us for our morning Bible studies for those that want that. But James, I think it's excellent, and I I do believe that Israel has a right to be concerned, though, because whenever Arab nations start again coalescing, it's never good. And if I'm Israel, I can understand their anxiety over this and going toward Greece and Cyprus, and and trying to do their best to make as many alliances as they can. Do you think that the Russians and the Chinese are influencing this Mecca alliance at all? Do you think that they are behind any of this, or do you think this is strictly an Arab flavored thing?
I think it's an Arab flavored thing. And history shows that they do this sort of thing from time to time. So this is not like it's just burped out of the ether. This they do this periodically. It's a part of their DNA. They form these alliances, use them as photo opportunities. Always to gain some sort of advantage, be it money or whatever. And then when pressure comes, they fall apart. So
Okay,
that's
fair enough. Fair enough.
if history is any indicator, that's what's going to happen again here.
Quick question, and I'm going to move on to some domestic stuff after this. Jared Kushner's tonight calling for the revival of the Abraham Accords. I never was a fan of those accords for many reasons. And I hate to say this, when the Middle East goes quiet on us, and really the only show in town right now is America and Iran. I mean, this conflict with us and Iran, I've heard one of the Iranian leaders tonight say that they're going to wait Trump out, and they're going to let the world know this is what happens to you when you mess with Iran. And I think Trump's made a lot of mistakes, Jeemes, not finishing this job. I think that he's making a huge strategical mistake, not just going ahead and cleaning house, blowing this place to smithereens, and getting this regime out of place. And look, I don't mean to be so coy and blunt about it tonight, but there needs to be some funerals in Tehran from that leadership top down, and a new start that is not antagonistic to America, if there is such a thing over there. I don't believe in nation building. I believe we need to turn it over to the Iranian people. I believe the Iranian people have got to decide where they're going to want to go. Iraq did that to a degree when we got ISIS out of the way, and Iraq has not been an overt enemy to us, nor Israel, for what now, going on 20 years almost. And I don't know if Iran's going to be the same, but this tiptoeing around the tulips, you bomb them for a few days and go out there and say we've had victory, we've got a deal on the table, and then a week, 2, 3 passes, and Iran's thumbing their nose at us, putting their middle finger up, saying all this rhetoric, and then we find out that they're still controlling the Strait of Hormuz. And I think it just hurts us in the long term than just to get things done. And I cannot put my head around what Trump's trying to do. Only God knows that. But Jared Kushner trying to resurrect these Abraham Accords, I don't think, I think you've made a great point tonight. Any accord that America has ever made in the Middle East has fallen on its face. And I don't think the Abraham Accords are going to be any different. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think, talking about this Mecca defense
yes
organization, that's the Arab answer to the Abraham Accords.
That's exactly right.
They're not going to do certain things that the American president, bless his heart for trying, is going to want the nations in that region to do. We're out of tune with the dance, with the music that's being played right now, and we're trying to adjust on the fly. And the point is that there are a lot of people that talk about Trump not listening to advice or whatever. Right now, he is listening to advice. The generals and the admirals are telling him that to get in a protracted war here and to further draw down our supply of these precision weapons is a losing proposition, and I think Trump's taken that on board.
Yeah, and again, I want to make it clear, I'm with President Trump. I think that the general idea of what he's wanting to do is right. I'm with him on trying to stop this regime from getting a nuclear weapon. I've always been on board with that. And I don't want to turn into a Monday morning quarterback because I know these things are complicated. But I personally, this just is an opinion, I do believe it's been a mistake to do this back and forth with them and play this footsie dance around the tulips and not just show them what we can do and get it over with. Because the more he protracts it out, this Iranian leader tonight, Jeemes, was onto something without knowing it. I think the midterms are looking better for us because of the craziness on the left, but it is not something we better take for granted. And people had better get registered to vote. We better look at this as 2024 all over again. And because we're as good as reelecting Donald Trump for the last 2 years. Because if these Dems get power, you and I both know it is not going to be a pretty last 24 months for Trump. And but I do believe that's their goal. That if they can neutralize him and get people in power that can go back to the Biden doctrine and the Obama doctrine of giving these people what they want, that they're going to be in hog heaven. And then America's going to be held hostage to this regime for another 47 years until there's another Trump. And me and you won't be around then, buddy. Unless you got a miracle drug, you're going to be 100. I'm going to be 120 years old. I will be here.
Speak for yourself, but you're right. And when we have talked about this privately and on your program here, I make no bones about it. The failure to deal with these mullahs, with this type of religion that they pursue.
Bingo.
If we don't do it now, I mean, Trump had the best opportunity to do it in our lifetime. And if this opportunity passes, this country is going to live to regret it.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, buddy. No, I totally agree. And I cannot say it any better. Now, I want to bring us back. I want to bring us back to the states, because there was a couple of things that have happened in the country since we've talked. The communists, the DSA, the socialists, Al-Sayed won in Michigan. We've got Terrico in Texas. The Hong woman, who was the same fiber of Al-Sayed, she lost Tuesday night to David Crowley, who is a little less crazy, but just as crazy as any Democrat. He's just a little less nutty on the 1 to 10 nuttometer. But what do you see happening in these midterms? Do you think the Republicans are benefiting from this, or are you concerned? And I'm going to throw this scenario out at you. I love Mike Rogers. I think Mike Rogers is a good man. I think that even down in Georgia, Mike Collins is a good man. All these candidates were backed by Trump. Tilly, the guy up in Wisconsin, he seems to be a squared away guy. But I talked to Leslie Millway Tuesday night. I'm concerned that we on the right do not match the energy that these commies match on the left. Commies have got one of the most dangerous ideologies that would destroy this country in 5 seconds. But James, they've got the energy, and they know how to get the crowd, and they know how to play on people's emotion. And Republicans, for some reason, we just sit down and lay back, and we think that we can win on the issues, which I guess in a real world we could, but there's got to be a match of energy. And I watched Mike Rogers, even and Hannity interviewed him Tuesday night, and I don't mean to say this disrespectfully to us old white guys, but what he came across on that television to me was an old white guy. And, you know, look, he is the better candidate 1,000,000 to 1. But Al-Sayed is out there doing videos. He's singing. He's screaming. He's appealing to these young kids. He's appealing to the left. He's calling Chucky Boy up, calling Hakeem up, talking to them like bros. You know, and the media is helping him. The media has basically declared him, you know, safe, and he's really not a socialist. He may be a communist, but he's not a socialist, is what I heard tonight. He's hanging around with Hassan Piker, who is the most vile anti-Semite in America, and they're even making Hassan Piker look sanitized, Jeemes. And again, I'm concerned that if Mike don't pick up his game, and he's got to pick it up now, because we're in August. We're just 3 months away. That people are not going to go out to the polls and vote, and I'm scared of that. And get me off the cliff here tonight. Tell me that I'm wrong, or tell me I'm right, and you've got the same concerns. What's your thoughts on that?
No, I have exactly the same concern. And it's a demographic concern as much as anything. The voters in this country, when they're under a certain age, have no idea how bad communism is. They have been spoon-fed by leftists at all levels of education now for several years, with a soft left message that they're not all that bad, and there's a refusal of the press to talk about those situations that were just absolute disasters whenever the far left comes into control. So you have a whole segment of the voting population, the ones with the most energy right now, that have no idea of what neo-Marxism is, what Marxism is, what communism is, what socialism is. They have no clue. To them, it's just a meaningful sort of ideological arguments with people that we really can't take serious. And you know, our country is in trouble, and the midterms are going to show that. And you're exactly right. And unless there is and a part of it, the problem is, as I've talked about before, in my view, is we tend to put trust in political labels: Democrats, Republicans, left, right, whatever, instead of the integrity of the candidate. And so, you know, you have all of this that's going on. You have a population that has been dumbed down deliberately and pacified to the point where they think taking a stand for anything right is not worth the cost of doing it. And so our country is at risk, I would argue, and that risk is going to surface and show itself in these midterms. Can you imagine 10 to 15 years ago, AOC, any of these nut jobs having any credibility whatsoever in this country?
Jeemes, not only credibility, I couldn't have imagined that we would have allowed these people to take power, buddy. You've got people in the highest levels of our government in Congress: Rashida Tlaib, Ariana Presley, Ilhan Omar. Look, we voted some of these people are gone, thank God, like Jasmine Crockett, and there was some nut out there out west that got voted out. Some of the extreme left is not going to be there in January, but there's a lot that is left. And again, if you get a Al-Sayed in power, Jeemes, he is a natural born citizen. He's an anchor baby. It's unlike Mandami. He can run for president one day. AOC can run for president. And you know, this is the scary thing too, and this is where the media is complicit too. They're out there trying to tell us that all these crazy things. I'll go back to 10 or 15 years ago, because a lot of these videos that are surfacing from these people are from that time you just mentioned. And they have got some of the most crazy, anti-Semitic, anti-American, ungodly, atheistic, demonic thinking and ideology that you would ever believe, even coming from a young person in their 20s. I mean, to implement what they want, you would lose the very fabric of society in this country in about 10 minutes. And now they're telling us, well, don't judge us on what we said then. We've moderated a little bit. We're not going to be that crazy if we take power. And James, it's not a certain man of history called Adolf Hitler do the same thing. He wrote in his book in Mein Kampf that he would kill all the Jews in Europe. And the Germans said, well, no, he can't be that crazy. He can't be that radical. There's no way that Hitler would do that. And guess what Hitler did, James, when he got power? He slaughtered 6 million Jews. And that's what I'm concerned about, that we're buying that these, and it's not just the kids. I keep saying the kids. There's a lot of adults buying this garbage that these people won't be as extreme. And to get rid of Trump, it's worth selling your soul to a communist, because they won't do anything that they say they're doing, because there'll be people to check them. That's how New York City got Mandami, buddy. That's how they got Mandami.
Well, they got Mandani because only a small percentage of the population actually voted. And that's the candidate they got. That's the price, the reward for that sort of mindset. You know, to think that Mandami is has overwhelming political support in New York, you know, just sort of defies the reality of the politics. But
go ahead.
That doesn't matter. The fact of how he was elected, the media has put him on a pedestal, so that he's constantly a mouthpiece for this whole idea that you're talking about, which would destroy America at the drop of a hat. And in the process of doing that, would probably, I'm going to get in trouble here, but would probably eliminate all the Jews. And then after that was done, they would start to eliminate Christians.
James, that's the thing. And that's what people don't understand. That's the whole purpose of Islam. That is what Islam does. I read something today by Victor David Hanson and Gal Syed. He is a professor in a university in the East. I want to say somewhere in North Carolina or maybe up in New York. When Islam is in the minority, they will manipulate and lie to get into power to make you think they're not as evil and dangerous, and that they will coexist with all religions if they're elected. They get elected, and there are no other religions, because they seek to destroy everything. And I can guarantee the listener tonight that the number one religion that they've got their eyes on, it's not Buddhism, and it's not Hinduism, and it's not any other ism except one, and that is Christianity. They are out to destroy and wipe God off the face of this earth and make the world bow to Islam. And the only people that will stand up to this force, James, are Bible-believing Christians and conservatives who see the evil, and we would stand up to this. And, buddy, we could be facing bloodshed. We could be facing a bloodbath. I'm not just talking spiritually. I'm talking literal. And that's where we're headed. Because I'm not going to let my country go. I'm not going to let my country fall to this mess. I'm just not. I'm not saying I'm going to do anything crazy. But, James, we got a country to stand up for and fight. And this is, again, we can lay it all on the kids if we want to. There's not just kids at these rallies of Al-Syed. There's not just 20-year-olds. I'm seeing older people. Look, it's like Mandy Patinkin, the actor, when he was campaigning with Mandami before the election. Mandy Patinkin in his 70s, that's like the fox campaigning, or the hen campaigning with the fox and saying, he's not going to eat me. He's not going to eat me. He's a good guy. And then you elect him and he kills you. And that's what I see coming.
Oh yeah, but no, I'm scoot over on that soapbox. I'm right with you.
That's two. That's two tonight. So, but am I right on that? Is that not
No,
a serious
no.
consideration? That's a very serious consideration that people need to understand what we're facing.
You're right. I went on a little tour of sorts. I was teaching a terrorism course on a small college campus, and so I gave to civic groups and other groups sort of a short song and dance on the danger uh, of Islam in this country and what's going to happen. And what I predicted when I was talking to those people is exactly what is happening right now. But they did not, Chris, want to hear it.
No, they
They
don't.
did not want to hear it, and that's the case here. Well-meaning people that have been pacified. There's even if somebody come into their house with a gun, they would question themselves 3 or 4 times whether they should respond to the threat. That is what we have in this country today, and and you're right. It's not an age specific thing.
No, it's not.
It has been. We have had a steady diet of this stuff from the media, from TV. Now it's every platform you can think of, and the result of that is that people do not think this country anymore is special enough to sacrifice their convenience for.
That's a dangerous feeling, Jeemes. That's a dangerous ideology. That's a dangerous thought process to have, because this country is worth dying for. I mean, we love this country, and God put us here, and people don't realize the spiritual ramifications of that statement that you just made. You see, America is a buffer, Jeemes, to this whole world. I don't know if we get this or not. Europe, we've got Europe. We've got nobody but Europe to our east to look at tonight as an example of what happens when you don't stand up to Sharia law and the Islamization of a continent. We have nothing but the Middle East to look at tonight, and the conflict that we're fighting with a mortal enemy who's, again, this is not any nation, any normal nation. These people have a suicide pact with death. They have a suicide pact. They don't care if you blow them to smithereens. They would sit there and dance in the street saying, bring it on, because we're going to see 72 virgins and we're going out as martyrs and we got a reward waiting for us. I know that's not what's going to happen, but that's what they believe. And when you believe something like that, you can't defeat that. There's nothing you can do if somebody's not scared of dying for what they believe. And what's sad to me tonight, Jeemes, is that we've got Americans that they are not willing to even, as you said, lose convenience. Forget the dying part. We don't even have the convenience to go vote. And I see people saying, well, we need to pray and we need to pray. And I'm not against prayer. I'm not against any of that. But, a lot of these people that are sitting in their house and pray, they won't get out and go vote. And I'm going to tell you, their prayers are going to hit the roof and fall right back down to the earth. Because the little convenient part is that we don't get out. If we can't even get out and go vote, what do we think God's going to do for us? He looks down at us in our apathy, and we don't even care to get out and fight for our nation. We can't even get people to go vote. And we can't even get people to do anything. But yet they want to believe that this threat is not going to destroy this country and put them in a place. And the very same people that won't vote and won't go out and fight against this, they don't realize that they're appeasing evil. And evil don't care who it destroys. It's destroying everything in its path. Just like what's happened in Massachusetts, Jeemes. That governor that signed that bill this week to abort babies up to 34 weeks, everybody that voted for that governor and put her in power in Massachusetts, you better listen to me tonight, you are just as guilty as that governor is, and every doctor that slaughters a baby on them abortion tables. You put her in power. She signed the bill. And I say this to the people that sit around and they want to talk a big game, but they don't do anything to go out and fight for this country. If the Sharia, Islamic, jihadists take over this nation because of ineptness and apathy of Christians, Christians will have only themselves to blame, James. Christians will have only themselves to blame. I know that's a little tough, and that's not even a soapbox, brother. That's coming from the deepest recesses of my soul tonight. And I feel that we've got blood on our hands, and that governor that I've never seen. The only thing I can liken what I saw that this week too was Cuomo, when he signed that pro-abortion bill in New York during the Biden years, and those people and that hall was applauding like they were applauding an orchestra playing music. Those ladies jumping up and down and clapping sent chills up my back. I don't care if it's deep blue Massachusetts or red Arizona or red Kansas. It's demonically demon-infested murder, what this lady signed into power. Now, what say you? We'll wrap this up.
I only have one word for that. Amen.
Good.
No, the thought of people celebrating the murder of the most defenseless among us is just it just boggers the imagination. God help us.
Did you ever think that you would see a state get to the point that Massachusetts get? Because I think this is a trial run right now. And I'm going to go ahead and say this on record. We got Carla Nicole coming next week. She's my dear friend from the pro-life movement. And I'm not even talking with you about this. What's your thoughts on Fauci and finding out this week that they knew that this COVID shot was killing the babies in the first trimester, second trimester, and women were losing babies by miscarriage? He knew it. He kept it a secret. And there are some people that believe that it was actually done on purpose, that was almost like a mini abortion pill. They knew that women that took the shot was basically killing their babies, and they had nothing to say about it. James, that's going to get blood on somebody's hands, brother. That's eternal. That's a spiritual matter. That's not even political. Yeah. That should bother Republican, Democrat, left, right, even if you're not a Christian, a born-again Christian. If you've got anything that even remotely resembles a soul, which most don't, that has to bother you tonight. And that's what's the other scary thing about this country, James. We're so callous and cold and cynical, it don't bother people. And it should.
Right. That's right. That's right. Yeah, it should cause a spiritual tingle from the head to the toes. But that sensation has been muted in almost everybody, and that is the tragedy, Chris. That is the tragedy. Even human life. These same women that stood around the Massachusetts governor, if there had been an owl outside that somebody killed, would have raised more of a ruckus about that than about all of the human life being murdered. That's what it is.
I'm going to return your amen on that one. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I'm returning your amen on that one, buddy. I'm returning your amen and a million amens on that. We give more care to the blood of a dog. I bet you PETA would have been up there marching around the governor's mansion the other night and said, well, you can't kill owls, and you can't kill dogs, and you can't kill this, and you can't kill that. And then we kill a baby, and like they jump up and down like it's some clown show. That's apostasy, James. That's apostasy.
Couldn't agree more, Chris. Couldn't agree more. It's a blight. It's an indictment on everything that we hold sacred. And in terms of Fauci, I don't pretend to stand in the position of God, but I'm telling you what, I would not want to be facing judgment before the maker of heaven and earth if I was Fauci. That's all I'm going to say about
I'll agree. Jeemes, if he don't repent, this man's going to have the blood of millions of people on his hands. And that governor in Massachusetts, and there's a lot of governors, Newsom, all these pro-abortion states, and I was going to say something a while ago, and I'll let you go after this. You've been a jewel being with me tonight, man. It's so good to have you tonight. But I believe when Roe v. Wade was taken down, there was a lot of people that mistakenly thought that would be the end of abortion when we gave it back to the states. Abortion needs to be outlawed in all 50 states, regardless of the state. It should be a federal mandate. If you kill a baby, I don't care what month it is, you are committing capital murder. And when we stop considering it murder and we condone it, I don't care if it's a state issue or not. It's not, to me, not a state issue, buddy. It's a God issue. I'm going to put my pastor's hat on for a minute. I'm going to tell you something, buddy. It's a God issue to me. It's a life issue. God don't care whether you're in California, Massachusetts, Michigan, Illinois, Wisconsin, Connecticut, Maine, New Hampshire, or any other state out there. You kill a baby, you're killing a baby. It's cold-blooded murder. You know? And we put all these parameters on it. And we say, well, it's the baby. We need to figure out when the baby's alive. When that baby starts breathing, that is a living soul in the sight of God. And who is man? Who is these doctors? Who are these politicians that think they've got a right to tell the mother, you've got a right to kill that baby? Jeemes, that is what brings judgment on nations, man. That's what brings nations into God's, look, all the empires of the past, and I'll let you wrap us up on this. If you look at the empires of the past that crumbled, Rome, Greece, even the Persian Empire, all these empires of the past, if you look and you start doing a history like you are, child sacrifice was at the root of most of the crumbling and the destruction of those nations. Pedophilia was another. Corruption in government and homosexuality. And you look at the makeup of this country tonight, brother. We're 250 years, and we're on borrowed time as it is. And it, again, that's McDonald's Thursday night. I wouldn't call it a sermonette. That's McDonald's bring it on sermon tonight. What you say? And I'll let you wrap us up now.
No, that's good stuff. You know, boiled down to the simplest is Jesus Christ self-identified as the way, the truth, and the life. And the life. Every one of those characteristics are under frontal attack in this country and around the world, because we don't want any of that. We want to substitute human understanding. We want to be accountable on our own for the decisions made. And I'm telling you, Chris, the most obvious manifestation of it is in politics, but it gets down to every individual and how they're living. And we need to get back to the days when Jesus Christ was more important than my standard of living, what car I drive, you know, the education I have, and we need to get back to that world.
Amen. Amen.
And with and I do a lot of writing about AI and about these other things that are going to substitute the very human essence of what it means to live. We are surrendering that, and I mean, I'm closer to the end than the beginning for sure, but it's my children and my grandchildren. What have we left them? And that's what people should be asking themselves. what world are we leaving to our children and our grandchildren? And it just no matter how you slice it and dice it, it does not look pretty.
But it don't. And I'm with you 1,000,000%. Listen, one final thing. We could talk about this next week because I'm going to get you back on next week. And if Chris gets bored tomorrow night on my news show, I might call you back up on Friday, and you can be my Friday night guest too. We'll pick this discussion. We're both sports fans. I don't watch the WNBA, but what do you think about the NBA players, the men, wanting to go and be WNBA players to make a point that men shouldn't be competing against women? And the WNBA tonight had a problem understanding what the W is in the league. They don't even want to call them women. Where have we gotten to there, brother?
Yes. Or the case of the Indiana, what is it, Fever?
Yes.
That has Clark and Cunningham on it, and Cunningham defending the role of women in women's sports.
Yes.
And she can't even get the owners of these franchises to agree with her. It is crazy.
It is nutty. Well, I will never take you to a WNBA game ever. We're gonna stick to the Reds, even as bad as the Reds are this year. We're gonna stick to baseball, Akers, me and you, okay? And we're gonna have another time. I'm gonna look at those Dodger tickets, and we're gonna have some hot dogs before the year's out. I always enjoy seeing you, man. You know you're precious to me like a brother, and I really mean that. And I just thank God for this friendship and these discussions we have. I go back and listen to them after we do them, and it's some good stuff. And you just bring such a great common sense approach to these things, and I deeply appreciate you. I really do, and I hope you have a good night. And thank you for these final words. And we'll talk about all this again. I'm sure the world will be just as crazy next week. It is tonight. All right, man.
If the past few weeks are any indication, absolutely.
Well, let me just say this: we don't see each other for a few weeks, and the world goes somewhere below where it's hot. And I'm like, maybe we need to make these meetings a little bit in between, so the world don't seem as nutty as we did when we get together. Listen, thank you for being with me tonight. God bless you, friend.
Blessings, Chris. Always an honor, babe.
We'll see you soon. See you soon.
Bet. Bye-bye.
God bless. Good night. Jeemes Akers, everybody. Puts fire in that house. That's my buddy. That's my buddy. And I appreciate all you folks that are out there tonight. Good to see Rosanna Parsons in the house. And Rosanna, your word is so beautiful. Good to see you, friend. She says Republicans need to vote, not just complain. I'll agree with that about 1,000,000%. I will 1,000,000%. Anyway, all righty. Couple of things. I've seen some comments. Some of them I agree with. Some of them I'll just save my comments for others. This is a little bit deeper than popcorn, but it is what it is. And but there is a push in this world, sadly, for death. And Jamie, good to see you tonight, Jamie Macias. And these are demonic people, my friend. I'll agree with that. This agenda, this what's going on in Massachusetts. This ain't the first state that has done something like this. I was just chilled by the way they reacted, and I shouldn't be. Nothing should surprise me at this point. But they are full of demons. These people need Jesus. They need to be saved. They need faith. And many of them, that's the least of their concerns. And, but anyway. Now, tomorrow night, we're going to do a news wrap-up for the week. So we're going to save all our videos for that tomorrow night. But I do want to play just a couple of things for you tonight. This is Charlie Kirk, the late Charlie Kirk, who was taken from us about a year ago. What he had to say about Islam is worth listening to tonight, and we're going to wrap this up here in a few minutes. We'll take a few of your questions. Put questions, folks, out there, so forth. If you got any questions about tonight's show, roll tape.
But let's just take a pause. If our biggest city is about to fall to an Islamic mayor, we should take a step back 24 years after 9/11, and we should ask ourselves the question, why did we send all of these hundreds of thousands of young men and women to go fight in Iraq and Afghanistan just to have that ideology come to the biggest city in the United States of America, New York City? From the top down, understand that this parasitic ideology is about conquering without ever having to fire a shot. It is not done with tanks or mortar shells or with drones. It is conquering via maternity wards. It's conquering in the delivery room. Mass production of new babies that are brought in via mass immigration. You might say, oh, Charlie, you're exaggerating. The mayor of Minneapolis is about to be a Muslim. So you're about to have Minneapolis and you're about to have New York City. Do you think Ilhan Omar has assimilated the United States of America, or Rashida Tlaib, or Zohran Mamdani? Again, if we are part of the United States of America, we should care about when our biggest city is about to fall to this kind of ideology. And Islam is not compatible with Western civilization. Islam is at odds with all the freedoms that we enjoy.
Amen, Charlie.
What Charlie Kirk is saying here is that the Muslim plan is to come to America through mass migration and then have a ton of babies, outbreed us, to run for political office, and then gain political office, and then change our laws to Sharia law. And that's exactly what they're doing. We're seeing it. So one of the questions you might have is, how bad is this problem? How many births are white families having compared to Muslim families?
And I don't want to get into all that. I wanted to play Charlie. That's somebody else there, and I don't really care to hear all that mess. Listen, but I want to say something. That was recorded a year ago. That was before. It was actually recorded in 24. That was before Mandami actually got elected. But Charlie was right on. And folks, Al-Sayed today, this Michigan candidate for Senate, he basically has said that Sharia law has always governed his thinking and always will. And my question to the individuals that voted for him, do you think that that's going to change if he goes to Washington, D.C., that he's not going to try to implement that Sharia law in our own government? You're a fool if you don't think that, if you don't think he will. You're just a plain fool. And I don't say that lightly, and I don't mean that disrespectfully, don't mean to be ugly. That's just foolish talk. But we got people that believe that. And we've got other people that, well, I don't have to go vote. I don't have to do anything. I'll just sit around and say a bunch of bumper sticker statements in Christianity, and God will just swoop down here and throw pixie dust on all this and fix this for us. God's not going to throw pixie dust on it, folks. God tells us that the powers that are over us are ordained by Him, and we are to pray for our leaders. And if the righteous, how does He say it in Proverbs? When the righteous rule, the people rejoice. When the wicked rule, the people mourn. And He puts a thee there. He puts a thee there. You know who thee is? That's the body of Christ. That's His people. You want to be able to still go to church on Sunday? You still want to be able to pray? You still want to be able to read your Bible? You still want to be able to say the name of Jesus on a street corner, give out a tract? It's getting to the point now we can't even do that without people arresting us. If you think it's bad now, folks, you wait till this Sharia law. If this Sharia law takes hold in this country, you won't even be able to watch a program like this. I'll probably won't be on the air. None of this will matter. Everything that's godly, anything that promotes Christianity, anything that promotes faith is going to be taken away. So, if you don't think that they're going to do exactly what they're telling you they're going to do, again, it's time we become a little soberly minded. And I'm talking to Christians because I see stuff out there. I do. I see stuff every now and then that people are saying stupid stuff like, we don't need to go vote because the whole system's corrupt and the voting process is corrupt. And we're just voting for corrupt people, whether we vote for a Republican or a Democrat. And again, it's just like they've got these blinders on. It's like Satan has just put a bag over their head and a bag over their thinking, and they're meth-induced. Do you not know that if you don't vote and you allow this to happen and you allow these things to happen, you're going to get a governor just like the one in Massachusetts that has no problem signing bills into law that kill babies up to 34 months and beyond? I don't know what part of that the Christian faith don't understand. I read all these articles about Christian nationalism. Our dear friend Bill Federer, he screams this in all of his conferences. He screams and screams and screams. You got to get involved in government. You got to go vote. I don't want the political stuff. I don't care about the politics. Politics is a nasty, dirty, toxic business. That's not what I'm talking about tonight. This ain't about a party. This ain't about a man. This ain't about anything, neighbor. It's about freedom. It's about freedom. It's about freedom. It's about freedom. And if this danger, this threat that is seeping up upon us like a boiled frog in a pot, all this numbskullery stuff people are talking and saying and not doing, and all these people with Christian nationalism is not true faith. Well, it's not about faith at this point, neighbor. I'm not going to even disagree with that. You need to be born again. You need to be saved. But if you're saved, you're going to care about your country, and you're going to care about the fact that you don't want your kids with machine guns to their heads if they want to go worship Jesus. You're not going to have a right to worship anything if this ideology ever takes control of this country. You're not going to be able to even open your Bible, neighbor. They're going to start coming and confiscating your Bibles. They're going to be coming and confiscating your churches. They're going to be coming and confiscating your kids. I cannot stress that enough. Maybe it's falling on deaf ears. Maybe it's not. Maybe a few of you are getting it. I pray to God you are. I'll put it like this. As long as I got a breath, and I got them two lights, and I got this camera, we're going to be screaming it every night. We're going to be screaming it every night. I'll amen myself. I'll amen myself. I'll amen myself. JD said, I limped out with my cane, entered the polls, and showed my ID and voted. And the comment about Hitler, you say, well, Hitler, when he got into power, preachers who spoke up were put into camps. There wasn't but two that spoke up. There wasn't but two that spoke up. I hate to bust your bubble on that, Prism. Good to see you tonight, but I hate to bust your bubble about history. No, the church in Germany is the one that elected Hitler. The church in Germany, in their silence, elected Hitler. If you've ever read the book Hitler's Cross, that idea that you've got that Hitler put preachers in camps, only Dietrich Bonhoeffer and Martin Niemöller were really the only two voices in Germany. There may be maybe two or three more that out of a country of probably about 10 to 20 million people that even said anything about Hitler. You go back and study history. The preachers actually let him come to power and claimed him the Messiah. Just like I see a lot of preachers doing Mendami and the Socialist Party of the Democrats, and Al-Sayed, and Terrico. James Terrico is calling the Bible. James Terrico is out there tonight saying that teaching your kids the Bible is evil propaganda. It's evil propaganda. And he wants to be, again, a senator from the state of Texas. And you've got another guy, Ken Paxton, who I love. I believe Ken's doing a great job. But this is something that we had better come to grips with, folks. It's all hands on deck between now and November. And we better be getting out, and we better be making sure we're registered, and we better treat this midterm as if it's the presidential race of 24. And I cannot believe that people would sit out there and say, well, I didn't see any difference between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. I read that statement tonight somewhere on some Christian kook website. I'm a firm born-again believer. You know where my faith stands. That website was not Christian. It was an apostate website. And to say such to vote for Trump was the same as voting for Kamala. Let me just give you a little news flash. She believes, they interviewed her again tonight. They asked her, said, "Would you support abortion?" She says, "I want to roll back Roe v. Wade, and I want to make sure that every woman has the right to do with what they want to do and choose if they want to kill their baby or not and abort their baby or not." And she wants to do the opposite. She wants to make it a federal mandate that all states allow it. I haven't seen Trump do any of that. He's done nothing but fight it. This kind of mentality, folks, this kind of mentality where people are in a spiritual fog. And that's why I'm a little fired up tonight. I got the cowboy hat on and I'm a little fired up. It's the pulpits. It's the pulpits pushing some of this stuff. Just like they did in Nazi Germany. By the way, Hitler, people call him a fascist. Do you know the party that he was a part of when he got elected? He was part of the German Socialist Party. Just like the Democrat Socialist Party. And they're very anti-Semitic. You look at their ideology. So, Prism, not to take issue with you. It's nothing personal. But there were only a few preachers. There was only a few preachers that spoke up at all. Most of the church in Germany kept their mouth shut and did nothing to stop Hitler. And basically praised him from their pulpits as the second coming of Jesus. All right, I've said my piece tonight. I've said my piece. Sean, good to see you tonight. He said, "Thanks again for your words about the Massachusetts governor, the situation, biblical speaking. Do you think America's conflict with Iran?" Sean, we're going to talk about America's conflict with Iran at some point, but not tonight, buddy. It's late. We're about to get out of here. But thank you for being with me tonight. Good to see you, my friend. Good to see all you folks over on Facebook. We got our Facebook back. We were having some problems with our Facebook over here for some reason on the network. But anyway, Dennis says, "I agree 1,000,000%. Hang on just a second. I just lost your comment. Well, I don't know where it went. Anyway, it's gone now. Sorry about that, Dennis. Dennis, if you'll post your comment again, I don't know what happened there. But, folks, listen to me. This is real stuff. It's 10:24, and let me do this before we go tonight. We're going to do, a new show. By the way, since some of you don't believe this is Kamala Harris talking about the fascist takeover, the white supremacy issue in America, which none other than Stacey Abrams, Joe Concha, asked these two, "How many elections have you lost between the two of you?" A bunch.
That part of the pain of this moment, Stacey, is these so-called leaders who are pushing this kind of this narrative about who is a legitimate American citizen among American citizens. Yes. This blood and soil narrative that's being pushed at the highest levels of our government to suggest that, once again, to hearken back to times when it was explicit that there was a hierarchy among Americans and who was superior and whom was inferior, all citizens. And that's what's happening right now.
Yep, that's what's happening right now. Somebody did this about the Massachusetts governor. Pretty powerful.
We want your babies. We want your babies.
There are doctors behind her. There were doctors behind her. There actually was. They didn't have fangs, but whoever did that was pretty good. It's the truth. By the way, I got to do one story tonight about the media. All this we'll talk about tomorrow night. But if you want to see how corrupt the media is, and you want to see how race baiting and how racially divided we are and why we are, go no further than this story tonight on CNN. You see that headline right there? You see that headline? You see that guy in the picture? I think that's a CNN reporter. Their headline is Black Woman Found Hanging from Tree in Mississippi. That headline is right. I want to play the video to this, and I want you to listen to this guy real carefully and listen very carefully to it, and then I'm going to give you the punchlines.
Of death. Again, a lot we still don't know here, but obviously the raw imagery of a black person hanging from a tree in the American South evokes a very painful history. Now, you
listen to that again.
Of death. Again, a lot we still don't know here, but obviously the raw imagery of a black person hanging from a tree in the American South evokes a very painful history. Now,
that's he made his point. Because the image of a black woman hanging from a tree evokes, let's just say it like it is, sir, since you don't have the courage to say it, it invokes images of the KKK, who, by the way, was not a Republican organization. The Democrats started the KKK to keep black people from voting. He doesn't clarify that. But this is the ugliness of what they did. And I'm going to wrap it up on this tonight because it's 11:30. A black woman is found hanging from a tree in Mississippi, and what to see and leave in with. I just played you the video. The imagery of a black person in the South hanging from a tree evokes painful memories. They left out one detail. That destroys this whole thing. Her black boyfriend, not her white boyfriend, but her black boyfriend was arrested in connection with her death. They never mention that in that story. Not a word. Not a single mention, just pure calculated race baiting while a woman is dead and the truth sits right there. This isn't journalism. This is propaganda. This is how they keep the racial fires burning and the division. How many more times are they going to do this before people finally wake up? That's an oxymoron. People are never going to wake up to it. That's the crap news network for you. They're not the only ones that do it. People heard that without checking the context of it, and probably believed that whites were responsible for that lady's death. I could go off on that like a bomb. But Chris has already went off like a bomb already tonight, so I'm not going to I'm not going to go off on a bomb anymore. But anyway, it's sad. It's sad. And yes, social preaching has replaced preaching of the gospel. Has replaced preaching of the gospel. Prayer Dog Charlie Kirk knew the truth. Yes, he did. And David, you say you can thank Obama for this. I disagree, brother. It's not just Obama. These fires, this, I'm not saying Obama he didn't throw gasoline on it. He had a lot of things that left to be desired of those 8 years. It's not Obama. We want to make boogeymen out of one or two people. It's not one person. David, we have nobody but to blame but ourselves. We have nobody to blame but ourselves for this country and the condition it's in. I would lay it more at the pastors and the foot of the church than Obama even. Because, David, a lot of Christians voted for Obama. A lot of Christians didn't even vote at all. And we elected him twice. And we put Joe Biden in office in 2020 because people hated Trump. They didn't like Trump, so they didn't go vote for Trump. Christians saw how bad it could get and finally caught some brains and got some sense in 24. But I'm hearing the same kind of disgruntledness with Trump now. You got one of the leading evangelical charismatic voices out there this week saying, I can't even listen to Trump because he cusses. Well, who are you going to listen to? Mozar Mandami? Who are you going to listen to? Alfiel Al-Sayed? You're going to sit at home because Trump has a language problem that probably everybody I'm listening to has probably lets a few words come out of their mouth they wish they wouldn't let come out sometimes. I'm not condoning it, folks. But we judge people and we say things like that. Like we're perfect, like we're sainted calves. He's the president of the United States. He's not your pastor. He's the president. And there's been presidents from Washington all the way to Trump. They probably said a lot of words they probably shouldn't have. We just didn't hear all of them. We only hear Trump's because Trump can't go eat a ham sandwich without the media telling you it's bad. But it ain't Obama, folks. Y'all, you need to get, y'all, we all need to get this stuff out of our head and trying to figure out what figure is responsible for it. We're responsible for it. And when we can come to grips with that fact that it's on us, then we can find humility enough to tell God we're sorry for what we've let happen to this country. And maybe then God will hear us. Maybe then God will hear us from heaven, because he says if we'll turn from our wicked ways, humble ourselves, and repent, he'll heal our land. He's not going to heal it by us blaming everybody else for it. We got to take responsibility for it. And I'm glad you've been with me tonight. God bless you. God bless your families. God bless this great nation of America. Have a good one, everybody. Have a good night. And we'll see you back here. We'll be here early in the morning. And we thank you for being with us tonight on a McFiles Thursday night with the one and only Jeemes Akers. Good night and God bless. See ya.